Hey everyone, this is one of the most anticipated affordable gaming laptops of the moment, the AMD Ryzen 4000 version of the Lenovo Legion 5. I bought this locally about 2 weeks ago and I've gathered my thoughts and impressions in the video with the strong points and the quirks that will help you decide whether this is the right buy for you or not. We'll go through the important design and ergonomics aspects first and then focus on the performance, the thermals, noise levels and efficiency, as well as this laptop's overall value. Before we start though, please take a quick moment to hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm, it helps us greatly. The Legion 5 is entirely built out of plastic and it hasn't changed much in terms of design language from the previous Legion Wi-Fi 14 generation. Aesthetically, this is a dark grey laptop without any gaming accents or RGB lights, but Lenovo went a bit heavy on the stickers and branding, both on the lid and on the interior. The build quality is fairly good, with a strong screen and limited flex in the main deck. The smooth kind of plastic is used for the lid, a rougher kind for the underside, and a rubbery coated one for the interior, and they blend well together and actually do a good job at fending off smudges and finger oil. However, I'm afraid the rubbery coating might chip way too easily. I've only had my unit for about 10 days and I'm already seeing some small scuffs and dents in the front lip. I do have my watch on all the time and the soft coating seems not to be strong enough to handle the buckle, which is not something that I want to be concerned with on my daily driver and a potential deal breaker for me. My other complaint so far is the fact that Lenovo still implement an always-on light in the power button, rather annoying when using the laptop at night. That aside, the Legion 5 is a full-size laptop, so it's a bit thicker than the ultra portables I'm normally spending my time with, but still fairly light at just a little over 5 pounds. That's not bad for a 15-inch laptop with an 80-watt battery inside. As far as practicality goes, this Legion 5 raises the bar high for other manufacturers. First off, Lenovo put some large and grippy rubber feet on the bottom that do an excellent job at keeping this anchored on the desk. They've also implemented what look like sturdy hinges that keep the screen in place without any wobbling, while at the same time allowing to easily pick it up and adjust it with a single hand. The hinges design is similar to the Lenovo Legion models from previous years, and I haven't heard complaints about them breaking. The screen also goes back flat to 180 degrees, which very few other laptops offer in this class. The bezel around are plastic and about averagely sized for a 2020 product, and this update gets a webcam on the top with a physical privacy cover. The image quality isn't much though. Lenovo haven't skimped on the thermal solution either, with large and wide open intakes on the bottom and proper exhausts on the back and the sides, accompanied by a complex internal thermal module. And that's despite the fact that my configuration only gets a 50-watt GTX 1650 Ti GPU. Looks like they use the same thermal design for all the Legion 5 variants, unlike some of the other OEMs. Finally, the I/O is mostly placed on the back edge, out of the way, with only the status LEDs, the headphone jack and 2 USB-A slots on the side. There's no card reader or USB-C charging support, but otherwise this offers pretty much everything you'll need on a laptop, and that rear I/O makes for a clutter-free setup when connecting peripherals. Well done. The keyboard has been redesigned from the 2019 Legions, and it's one of the better layouts in this segment, with a full-size main deck of keys, a smaller numpad section, and my favorite aspect, the large and well-spaced directional keys. This is what I'd want on any gaming laptop. That aside, the implementation uses the slightly concave keycaps characteristic to Lenovo laptops, but they feel a bit cheap and not as nice to the touch as on their higher-tier models. The feedback isn't amazing either, rather on the mushier side, and that took a toll on the overall accuracy. At the same time though, this is a quick and fairly quiet typer. As far as the illumination goes, Lenovo offers either a wide backlit keyboard option or a 4-zone RGB variant as an extra $30 upgrade. Mine is the RGB model with bright and uniform lighting, but plenty of light creeps out from under the keycaps with this design. The clickpad is a mid-sized plastic surface, fairly smooth and just fine with daily use. As for the biometrics, there aren't any on this notebook. There are currently 3 panel options available for the Legion 5 series, listed here. If given a choice, definitely go with the 144Hz variant. At the same time, I'd also stay away from the former, it's dimmer and from what I understand, a 60% sRGB panel with more washed out colors. I wasn't given any choice here, so my unit gets the 60Hz option with a 300 nits brightness and 100% sRGB coverage. This isn't ideal for fast-paced games with a 60Hz refresh and what look like middling response times, so ghosting is noticeable on this panel. I should also add that there's no FreeSync support here. Otherwise though, this is a fine screen for a mid-tier laptop, and here's what we got in our tests. Our unit came poorly calibrated out of the box with a skewed white point and gamma. Once calibrated though, it ended up fairly uniform, but still dimmer in the lower left corner. Light bleeding is not an issue here, and color uniformity ended up better than I expected, with minimal delta E variations. Okay, with this out of the way, let's talk specs and numbers. This Legion 5 is the highest spec variant available as of right now, with a Ryzen 7 4800H processor, 16GB of DDR4 memory in dual channel, 512GB of SSD storage and dual graphics with the NVIDIA GTX 1650 Ti DGPU and the Radeon Vega iGPU within the AMD platform. You can disable the Vega GPU from the Vantage app by disabling hybrid mode, and that helps reduce input lag and minorly increases the frame rates in games. The Ryzen 7 4800H is an 8-core 16-thread processor able to run at high TDP and clocks if supplied with enough power and properly cooled. Lenovo also offers the 6-core Ryzen 7 4600H processor options for this series for $100 less in the configurator, and that's perhaps a better match for the kind of GPU available here. And that's because this AMD-based Legion 5 only tops at an entry-level GTX 1650 Ti DGPU, at least for now. GTX 1660 Ti and RTX 2070 options are announced for a later date, but we don't know when and where this will be available. Our configuration also shipped with 16GB of memory out of the box, with 2 RAM sticks in dual channel and a mid-level SK Hynix SSD, which is fast enough for everyday use. It can be replaced with a faster drive though, and accessing the components is a fairly simple task. You just need to take out the bottom panel, which is held in place by a couple of Phillips screws. This configuration gets the larger 80Wh battery, so it doesn't offer a hard drive cage, but 2 M.2 SSD slots, 2 memory slots and the Wi-Fi module. They are hidden behind these aluminum shrouds. As far as software goes, everything is controllable through the Lenovo Vantage app, which offers access to the power profiles, keyboard customization options, system updates, battery settings, etc. I find this unified implementation one of the better system control apps in the business. There are 3 performance and thermal profiles to choose from, and you can switch between them by pressing Fn plus Q. None of these modes directly affect the GPU in any way, and the performance mode doesn't apply any GPU overclocking either, something most other OEMs provide on their higher performance profiles. No worries though, we'll touch on that in a bit. On to our findings, we've run a couple of different tests on our review unit, from the standard synthetic benchmarks such as Cinebench R20, 3DMark or Geekbench, to Blender, SpecView Perf or Handbrake, which simulate real-life work with professional applications and video encoding. Feel free to pause to see how the Legion 5 scored and how it stacks against some of its competition, and make sure to head over to the written article on the site for the more in-depth performance analysis. I've added the link for you in the description. As expected, this performs excellently in CPU-heavy tasks, but mediocrely by today's standards in GPU and combined loads due to the bottleneck represented by the GTX 1650 Ti graphics chip. But let's steer back to the CPU tests, because it's important to mention that this is the highest power Ryzen 4800H implementation we've tested so far, and also the quietest at the same time. Here's what we got in the Cinebench R15 loop test on the 3 available power profiles. And here's how this compares to other notebooks in this same test in terms of scores and noise levels. There's a catch though. Lenovo allows the CPU to run at high temperatures in the 90 to 95 degrees during this test, while other Ryzen 7 4800H implementations that we've tested limit the power and thermals at lower levels. This is further confirmed by our other tests, so it might be wise to keep this on the balanced profile, which limits the CPU at around 45 W in demanding tasks, in order to prevent any heat-caused reliability issues long term. As far as gaming goes on this laptop, you shouldn't expect much. This is where the GTX 1650 Ti shows its limits once more. We ran a couple of titles on the default performance mode and on what we call the performance tweak mode, which includes a plus 120Hz MHz GPU overclock in MSI Afterburner. Here's what we got. We ran this test at the maximum graphics settings, and while most of the games are playable even at this level, you'll most likely want to trim down the settings to high or even medium on the latest AAA titles for constant 60+ frame rates. As far as thermals go, I'm not surprised they're excellent on this laptop. We're looking at around 70 to 80 degrees on the CPU and 57 to 62 degrees on the GPU between the tested titles on the performance mode. However, I've noticed that the CPU fluctuates between turbo and stock speeds, and while that hasn't translated in noticeable stuttering, it does have an overall negative impact on the 1% lows. That's weird behavior and not something I've encountered on the other Ryzen 7 laptops tested in the past. Overclocking the GPU allows it to run at slightly higher clocks, with 2 to 5% FPS gains between the tested titles. That's not much, but it's a welcome extra at this level. I wasn't expecting this notebook to run as quietly as it does though. The fans ramp up to only about 42 to 43 dB at head level on the performance mode when playing games, and under 40 dB on the quiet mode. They also remain active with daily use all the time, but they spin quietly, and you'll only hear them in a silent room. At the same time, the plastic chassis only reaches temperatures in the low 30s with daily use, or mid to high 40s in the hottest parts while running games. The WSD and arrow keys rest cooler in the high 30s and low 40s, so longer gaming sessions are comfortable on this configuration. However, expect this to differ on the higher GPU options. Overall though, Lenovo implemented an excellent thermal design here with ample intakes and output grills, as well as a complex internal thermal module, and this translates into cool temperatures and quiet fan noise. Well done. Before we wrap this up, I'll also mention the fast and reliable wireless 6 connection on this laptop, as well as the fact that the audio is above average for this class and slightly better than I expected. On top of that, the AMD platform shows its superiority when it comes to the battery run times as well. Sure, our model gets the 80 Wh battery, but the system also runs more efficient than the Intel counterparts, and that translates in roughly 5 to 6 hours of daily use and 10 plus hours of video on a single charge. The laptop comes with a compact and fairly light 170 Wh charger that plugs in via Lenovo's proprietary rectangular plug. A full charge takes about 2 hours if you enable quick charging from the Vantage app, and more than 2 hours otherwise. USB-C charging is not supported. Okay, let's draw the line on this Legion 5. Lenovo did a lot of things right here, except for 2, maybe 3. First off, the interior rubbery coating seems way too fragile on my unit and has already dented after a couple of days. I'm not sure if that's an issue with my device or a widespread problem, so you might want to look into that. Secondly, the limited GPU options available right now bottleneck this laptop and make it a hard sell for gamers. On top of this Legion 5 is also rather expensive as of right now. I got mine for under 1000 euros over here, which was a pretty good deal, but configuring it on Lenovo's website ends up at around $1350 for similar specs and close to $1400 with the 140Hz display. That's way too expensive for a 1650 Ti notebook. In my opinion, this would make more sense at around $1000, and even then, it might not be the ideal gaming option with 1660 Ti models already available for around $1000 these days. Sure, it's going to get more affordable later on, but make sure to carefully consider pricing and the available competition in your region when looking into this laptop. For now, I'd hold off on the existing versions at the current price levels. Nevertheless, the Legion 5 is a solid mid-range laptop and it should be on your list down the road once it gets more affordable and once Lenovo finally adds in those higher tier GPU options. I'm looking forward to spending more time with those unavailable and deciding on their value. With that in mind, we're going to wrap this up here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this Legion 5. Get in touch in the comment section, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to our channel to get notified when we publish more content. Catch you later.